For over 400 years, Europe industrialized mass human exploitation, forcing millions into captive labor under brutal conditions. But to understand how, we must first examine how Europe systematically turned Africa into a human economy, dismantling thriving society to form a global system of racial capitalism. This system didn't work alone. To foil the largest forced migration in history, European powers needed local collaborators. Today, we expose how some African rulers became part of the trade system, how conflict was monetized through captive taking, how human lives fueled global capitalism, why this left Africa open to colonization. Slavery existed in Africa before Europeans became part of it, but as prisoners of war, debt repayment, and limited servitude. What Europe created was different. A race-based industrialized system where people were shipped as cargo. Kingdom has always wanted to dominate one another, expand their territory, control trade routes, have other kingdoms and villages pay tribute. All this could be achieved with the help of Europeans' influence, guns and gunpowders, which was necessary for dominance. Some African kingdoms gained wealth and power by selling slaves to Europeans, and this wealth was used to expand their territory and influence. On the other hand, the primary drive was the demand for cheap labor in the Americas, particularly for cultivating crops like sugar, tobacco, and cotton. This demand was further amplified by the shortage of labor in the Americas, which native population could not adequately fulfill. Additionally, European merchant and colonial powers actively sought to exploit this labor for profits, leading to the establishment of a complex triangular trade network involving Africa, and this went on for more than 4 centuries. Portugal, in the 16th century, started the first mass purchase from Madeira sugar plantation, then followed by the Dutch, English. France became heavily involved. While the Europeans created wealth, Africa created poverty, and this subsequently stunted African growth. Between 10 to 13 million Africans were forcibly transported to the Americas. This trade, along with the earlier trans-Saharan slave trade, significantly disrupted African society and economy, hindering their long-term growth. What was the impact when slavery became less lucrative? It becomes easy for the Europeans to colonize Africa. Division has been created. Africa has lost its most valuable resources. It was difficult for African kingdoms to put up a fight and defend its land and resources when the need arises. Kingdoms was unable to form an alliance. Trust was extremely expensive. Today, the impact is still very much visible. But who to blame and how do we fix this? On our next episode, we will talk on the kingdom that participated heavily and what remains of those kingdoms today.